Victory Lap. I am your host, Stephanie Nielsen, and I am so happy that you've joined in today. I imagine you're watching because, like me, you too love to learn and grow. So let's do that. I actually let today's guest choose the quote to start the show with. And it's a quote by Rumi that reads, "Through love, all that is bitter will sweet. Through love, all that is copper will be gold. Through love, all dredges will turn to purest wine. Through love, all pain will turn to medicine. Through love, the dead will all become alive. Through love, the king will turn into a slave." I just absolutely love that. Anybody that knows me knows that I love love. So this quote actually really speaks to me. And I believe it's true. I think that when we enter the world from a perspective of love, we have so much more to offer others. And this is very true about today's guest. Arthur is all about showing up with love. Everything that he does and the businesses that he started and the pages that he runs is all about connecting others in love. And I think it's absolutely brilliant. There's so many really, really cool things that this man has done. He's an entrepreneur. He's a speaker and trainer. He's an effective living coach. He does live segments on Instagram called Interunited, which is kind of neat. He is a former international top model. He's the co-founder of peoplesprideshoes.com. He's the owner of King Passports Hospitality and KAP Group. Like I said, this man is so interested. He has lived in, I think, 6 or 7 different countries. He speaks different languages. He has friends all over the world. And I am so fortunate that he has chosen to be on Victory Lap today. Actually, we are all fortunate that he has decided to be on Victory Lap today. So without any further introduction, I'm just going to go straight into it and welcome Arthur J. Rutledge to the show. Hello, Arthur. Thank you so much for being on the show today. It's so lovely to see you. I'm so glad you're here. So, Arthur, I think you are an amazing person. I have looked at all the different things that you've been up to, and I can't believe how many different projects you have on the go. So I actually just want to start the interview today by asking you to share with us some of your passions and tell our viewers what you're really passionate about, and then we can deviate into some of the really cool things that you're doing.
Okay, great. Well, I'm Arthur, everybody. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, and moved to New York to pursue a model career in I believe the beginning of 2000. And I got a chance to travel the world doing that, meeting so many different people. I've always had a love of dealing with people and connecting with people. So later on, I got the nickname, the King of Connecting. Because I would meet people from all over the world, and I would find a way to communicate with them, break down barriers in different ways.
Yes.
And make people feel at ease. And as you know, that can be complicated, and what that looks like from person to person. Depending on where they're at and what that looks like. And then that evolved to doing events in New York City, which I was coined the Prince of New York on London Real.
I love that you keep getting these royal titles.
So Brian Rose, I don't know if you're familiar with
Yes, Brian. I do know. Yeah, I know who Brian is. Yeah.
So I met him in London, and I got coined that by him.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. That's so awesome.
From our interview that I did while doing an event
in
London, which back in 2010 or 2011, and that was amazing. So I kept evolving towards the thing that I'm doing now, which is coaching, speaking, training with the John C. Maxwell team. As you know, the number one guru in leadership in the world.
Absolutely.
And we have the privilege to be mentored by him and his wonderful mentorship programs and what we're layered into.
Yes.
So yeah, but everything was the evolution from one thing to another. And even before that, back in Detroit, I was professional dancer. So I went from dancer, model, events coordinator, hospitality, and then to speaker, coach, trainer.
Oh, that's
Uh,
fantastic. But isn't that so cool how everything always does link up? Like
yeah,
whenever we look over our past, we can see how all the steps brought us to where we are today.
I just feel blessed to even be at the place where I'm at because it's so many people, and we understand that are looking, are trying to find, and I failed so many times in what that looked like, and I kept going, and it just taught me the place where I'm at right now, and
Yes.
those and with all those teachable moments that came from analyzing, but then taking action and not staying in paralysis really put me to the place where I'm at today.
You know, and that's actually a really important point that you make. So many people, they learn, they have the materials in front of them, they get the ideas, they get the concepts, but people are afraid to take action. And I am an action orientated person, as are you. And this is something that I find that John Maxwell really stands behind too, taking actions.
Hmm.
And I love the fact that they always say, take that first step and then grow your wings.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
yes.
So
The
I
first
want
time I've actually heard that was during something that Les Brown was doing, one of
to,
his speeches and things like that, and he coined it quite a bit. Who knows what side of it came from, but such a strong metaphor for just shedding those things that slow us up and creating from that vulnerability the strength that lies within all of us.
absolutely, absolutely. One of the projects that you're working on, well, there's two that really want to bring up. One of them is your King Arthur's passport.
Great.
I love this and I follow it. And I'd like you to share a little bit more about how you came up with that because I think it's fantastic.
Actually, it was a lot more detailed at the very beginning, and obviously,
Mhm.
we're in a forever changing world of technology. From the time when I actually introduced King Arthur's Passport, the vision of that was 9 cities where I can help host individuals that were looking for how to have a nice time and kind of
Mhm.
offer to welcome that to
Right.
entertainment, so to speak, whether it's shopping or restaurants or clubs and things of that nature.
So
But
kind
it
of
was,
like being a concierge.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was, but then it was like that plus side of because I wanted to have me in it, which was the person that can usually in surroundings where I'm at with a lot of individuals that I've met. I introduce James to Sue, or Sue to Bill, or Bill to
Yes.
Bob, and bring in my own small little society in a way in hopes to cultivate what that looks like, the change that we want in the world on a small part.
Yes.
But a lot of times we overthink the things that really seems insignificant at the time, but are something that's profound if you just change the perspective of what that can come where that can come from, and the intention of where that lies. So that's what I was doing with that.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say my opening quote for my last episode was a quote by Mother Teresa that says, "Not everybody can do great things, but we can all do small things with great love." And that is just beautiful to me. And it sounds like that's what you were doing with your King Arthur's passport.
Yes, that's beautiful, by the way. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have to write that down. I'm all about the words that I see or hear, boom, put them down. The phrases I hear, boom, put them down. But
Yeah.
yes, exactly. That was the intention at the beginning, and a lot of times we get caught up in everything being perfect and all the ducks being in a row, and what that kind of how that unfolds,
Yeah.
and visions do change as you go along, but you have to allow the space for you to come into what the fruition of that vision is, because if it's strong enough, it'll start to take on its own life. You're actually
Absolutely.
almost involved in it versus it's involved with you. So
Yes.
and so it turned into something that I started as I started growing, and we know this. the law of reflection and the law of the mirror. And as I started stepping into the possibilities of myself, as I started to grow in that aspect, I started, taking in more information, and I wanted to share more information. And I thought about it
Right.
on a global understanding, even before we really became completely global, to the point where a lot of us want to feel connected. We just don't know how we are in
Mhm.
whatever way. And so history, putting things
Yeah.
of history or things of fun or things of funny quotes or things that make us, we laugh at the same jokes, whether they're rude or whether they're awakening, or we laugh at the same or we grow towards the same thing, whether it's Martin Luther King or whether it's Gandhi.
Yeah.
Just two sides of the same sides of the same coin, so to
Yes.
speak. And that's where enlightenment starts to begin and happen, when we can create what that can look like. So I just decided to kind of make it something where I could facilitate a type of inside inner philosophy of that. And I have so many different people from around the world that's stepping into that, even though
Yeah.
it's on Facebook and still growing. But that's where the idea of where that came from, and the name King Arthur's passport, the idea of the passport that connects us all. That your physical passport, you walk to the airport, say,
Yeah.
"Show me your ID." Who are you? That's the
Yes.
question, right?
Yes.
And what you can become. So
Yeah. I love it. I absolutely love it. I remember the moment that I first realized my connection went so much further than just my little circle. And it was when I had my first son. And when I held that baby for the very first time and looked at him, I realized in that moment that I felt the exact same emotion that every mother everywhere on the planet, it didn't matter her race, her religion, her culture, her language, all of us in that moment of looking at our babies for the very first time felt the same emotion. And I think that's what you're sharing, is that we all have the same emotion. That's what unites us,
mhm.
is the emotion that we share in our laughter, in our fears, in our history, in our love, in our, ways of being, right?
Yes, 100%, a
Yeah,
hundred percent.
I
And the
absolutely.
passion and like you said, that is something that every parent can
Hmm.
feel. And we see a lot of things going on these days where we're seeing a lack of empathy for what that looks like.
Yes.
That side of motherly love, or agape,
Yes.
in each of our lives. And so we're doing, like you said, our parts, no matter how big or little. And like I said, sometimes we just overlook the things that are right there and the
Mm.
quality of our lives. And
Yeah.
that's the power of what you just said. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
thing that, and so anybody, if they say, how can I change the world? And I always add to that, one step at a time, or one vibe, one tribe, or
Yes.
one mind, one tribe, whatever that looks like. It starts with what you just said, just
Yeah.
being a great mother and
Yeah.
embracing that moment of possibilities in your
Absolutely.
child.
And I mean, I just want to add to that, because I think that you're right. And I think that when you're trying to figure out what your path is, just follow the emotion. Like, I think you and I are a perfect example for that, because we met through our JMT platform when we
Hmm.
both got our certification through a networking thing. The minute, and I think you felt it too, the minute we saw each other, we knew there was a connection.
Hmm.
So we followed up with it.
That's
And
right.
this is what I really truly believe that we need to do more of. When you feel that, don't back away from it. You need to reach back to it and say, hey, why did we feel that? What are we to learn from this? What are we to grow from it? And then here we are. And we haven't even met face to face, because we have a border between us. And yet now we've created a bit of a friendship. We've had some conversations. I've got you on the show. So you don't know where these little things will take you, but you have to follow that, right? And I think
It's
that's what they
we
talk about a lot in John Maxwell, when like, just take that step and the next ones will be revealed, right?
It's amazing when I think about the things that we think about while we in our experience. And it's funny because before this we were talking about the book Unleashed with Tony Robbins,
Yes.
and he tells this amazing story of how his daughter wanting a car, he took the responsible parent understanding, and he says, I'm not going to give you this, but if you earn it, I'll help you, and whatever you make, I'll match for that
Right.
if you go out and find a job. And because of previous empathy, compassion for fellow man, and the respect of individuals that happened earlier with an experience at a restaurant where he helped this young man step into a raise because of his great service, down the line, it added to his daughter being able to step into a job without any hesitation, and then even meet the love of her life, her first boyfriend,
Isn't
from
that
that.
neat? Yeah,
And so he goes on and on through the story. He says
yeah,
it doesn't stop there, and if you but it started with that one point where
yes,
you give of yourself and don't think about what you can get back right away. The dharma that
right,
comes from what that looks like. And a lot of people
absolutely.
concentrate on karma a lot of times, but dharma is the one that, is the other side of that coin, and where that can kind of circle back around. But just give, just be in, and that's part of the fulfillment, right? To be in service and
Yeah,
find that passion behind what that looks like. And yeah, and it just turned out so many things just trickled that. And he had to turn around and remind her. It says, how did you meet that great
yeah,
boyfriend you have? And she's like, oh, at the restaurant. And then he says, no, it started with you going to help and participate in what I saw for the possibilities for that young man that gave us such great service.
right.
She said it herself. And the coach that he was, he he let her become
Figure
aware
it out.
of it
Yeah, that's so
versus
awesome.
reminding her. And
Yeah,
so it was
yeah.
just that minute of thinking. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. And it's true. It all works out like that, right? Like it all works out like that. When you were talking about that, though, it did remind me that if you give with the intention of receiving, it's not a gift. You're not giving, right? And we have to be cognizant of that. We need to just give
And
and
our growth
believe
is in
and
that point.
trust
And that's
that,
one of the points where our growth starts, right there. When
yeah,
it's the things that we've ever done that's meant anything, if everybody goes through the tracks of their mind as far as that goes back, the sweet things they did for their mother, or the nice things they got from their, or they connected to by way of conversations with their father or parents or friends, or the solidarity moments,
right.
like the facilitated as the glue to human understanding and human experience, and what that looked like. It tracks back to what we're talking about. So
Exactly, 100%, 100%. Now, another thing that you're involved with is your shoe design company, which
oh,
I'm not very excited about because I have a young son who loves shoes and is looking to, I mean, he loves shoes. And he
I,
found a pair of shoes the other day in women's and thought, I'd like to see those in men. So when I saw your shoe company, I said, oh, you've got to check this out because maybe this is where you're going to get your shoes from. So
exactly.
do you want to talk a little bit about that too?
Yeah, so what happened with that side of it is, funny enough, I in my model career, I was very fortunate to have a lot of work to be a top model. And
Mm,
it's funny, I haven't really said that a lot out loud in public in a while, and sometimes don't even share that aspect of my life, even with people that I've worked with on the coaching side, things of that
right.
nature, uh, because I guess it's one of those amazing things that I just cherish so much, but I haven't brought into a story. So don't worry, it's going to be a story, because those aspects is the
Well,
things
I
that
can
people.
imagine the whole experience was just something that is just out of this world to people like myself, right? I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
So it kind of worked out that I was working with, and I was a muse for a great designer by the name of Maurice Maloney. He's basically the father of what we call fashionable denim
Okay.
now in on the East Coast. And
Yes.
he's originally from Detroit as well, and went to New York, and so he's world renowned for that denim, and he created a couture line. And the designer, Carlisle Hansen, was his top designer. And
Mhm.
me being the person I was and still are today, uh, just love connecting with the people. And it wasn't just about them hiring me to be a muse for the line at the time when I was modeling, things like that. But I would just go back after. I
Right.
was just impossibility. I
Yes.
was always like childlike, in what that
Yes.
looked like. So I always
Yes.
go back and say hi because I thought they were just so nice. And I was so in gratitude
Yes.
that they offered that to me and even put me up on a platform where of respect and
Right.
that type of love. So I would go back and visit, and I became friends with all of them, and still today we keep in contact with some of them and things like that. But Carlisle Hanson was the one that we just clicked, like you said, like me and you, we met each other and we just
Yep.
understood, where our souls were.
Yes. Yeah.
And that calmness and sereneness that come when you feel that kind of connection. I can only reference the closest reference that I can only think about is David and the King David and Saul's son. What was his
Yes.
name? What was
Oh,
his name?
are you
Jonathan.
there?
Jonathan.
Yeah.
And it says in the Bible that they were instantly connected, like one another's soul.
Oh, nice. Yes. Yes.
In what I'm saying, so and that type of connection, it is possible. It's rare,
Mm.
but it's possible in different aspects of anything we step into. So
Yes.
we actually fell out of contact, and a year and a half later, I was at a point where I wanted to step out of modeling, and I decided to do design or doing a design company, and I wanted to do jeans as well because I thought it was fairly easy to manage, and I thought that it would be fairly easy to find a designer.
Right.
Wrong. Nothing is easy
Yeah.
that easy when you're going into your own business because every time you take a step forward, it has its own pitfalls. Right.
Right.
So I bumped and reconnected with Carlisle just randomly, just through other friends, and it was meant to be. We sat down and I showed him some concepts, but his background is in pattern making and architecture. So he
Oh,
just saw the structure of people
yeah.
and in its fullest form. So he was an artist. He was doing all these things, and he says, "Listen, I want to do that with you. Let's talk about it." We formed People's Pride Clothing, which started out during just at the beginning of the recession,
Mm.
which couldn't have been at the worst
Yeah.
time, but again, not at the worst time. At the time it was supposed to happen. And
Exactly.
so a
Yeah.
lot of
I
times we
love
hold
that.
on to
Yes,
that.
you're right.
And a lot of times we hold on to that in the wrong way, but it's
Yes.
just perspective and what you can get out of that because we can push through anything we put our mind to,
Absolutely. 100%.
but we have to be in it, and we have to be
Yeah.
in the action steps of that, not
Yeah.
just the analyst paralysis situations that we kind of do and putting those ducks in a row. It doesn't happen to work like that. It's just when you're excited about it, go with it. And so it turned out that it didn't exactly work out on the jean side. We barely could hold our pants around our waist during that time, but we had the best time ever in the lessons that we learned, and we grew
Love it.
on that. And we decided that we were going to do it again. We just were just trying to put the times together, and then he had children, and then he decided he was about to move, and before that we said, let's do shoes. This is something that I'm passionate about, and I feel his passion because I feel the connection of what that looks like, and I love fashion. Like you said, you mentioned your son loves fashion, so I love shoes as well. I love every type of clothes, the consummate gentleman
Yeah.
and what that looks like. And so, or what they coined these days, the metrosexual
Yes. Yeah.
male
Yeah.
that kind of puts everything together, and it's part of cultural grooming, as it were, right now, how stylish you can be and things like that. So he said, this is an online platform, and with this platform, people can pick over 500,000 variations of the type of shoe that they want to design to their specific taste and needs.
I love it. I love it.
And so it was born, the shoes part of People's Pride. So People's Pride shoes.com. is where that can happen. The magic can happen for any individual. And I'm happy that we can put that into motion. But even with that, we always have philanthropic understanding and motion of what that looked like. So we even in our earlier part with our gene company had end up putting we end up putting a particular type of pocket inside of the zipper that was focused around putting protection, condoms in
Oh,
there
interesting. I
as
love that.
advocates,
Yes, I love that. But I
as
have to make a little bit
advocates
of a,
towards safe sex.
I think that's brilliant. I love it. I have to make a little joke though, that when you were doing the clothing line, you couldn't keep your pants up, and now doing the shoes, you're stepping forward.
That is our new slogan. Hopefully, I can get to Carlisle, our CEO, before
Yeah,
somebody on
that's
here
marketing.
actually snacks
Funny.
that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So, Arthur, if you don't mind, I'd like to take all of your experience and bring it into the questions that I have that I pose at every episode of my show.
please.
The first one is that how do you maximize your cruise control? And I always say that that's your comfort zone, the area that I don't think it's necessarily a bad place to be. We all need to have our comfort zone, but we also need to make the most of it. So how do you do that? What do you do to maximize your cruise control?
I believe that cruise control is just a great way to explain what that comfort zone is. And even sometimes it just feels like you're just in neutral, not even in cruise in
Yeah.
that comfort zones.
Yeah.
As I was talking about earlier, even with the clothing line, it would, and in most businesses, you get to a point where you hit a stopping block of what that can look like, and you start hitting those pain avoiders instead of embracing what is right in front of you and what you can accomplish with what that looks like just
Right.
by changing your perspective. So the answer, one of the answers to that is just take in new understanding, talk
Mm,
to or make up. We know what mastermind group looks like, but sometimes that mastermind group might be one or two other friends. It might not be anything so greatly significant. And ask, okay, do you know anybody that's done this
right.
particular thing? Not asking advice if they haven't done it. What do they think about it per se?
Right.
But if somebody's done something exactly the same way and what that looks like, you know, how do I get out of just feeling like I'm in one direction all the time, and how to not feel so linear, and
Right.
and to kind of spread that out and stretch myself to get answers by way of that. And then books in the same way, people who have been there and done that.
Yes.
And what that looks like, cruise control. I think of automotive. Obviously, we always think about Henry Ford. Whether you say you can or whether you say you can't, both times you're right.
Yes,
It's
exactly. Yeah.
and what that how that unfolds in how you're going to establish new boundaries every time that you feel like you hit a place where you feel like you're in a winding road and it's just going in a round and round and down versus the small efforts it takes to kind of build that up.
Yes.
And so good habits are what those look like, and connecting those different things into how we're going to place into our value system.
Right. Right. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah. No,
And that values is what centers us. It helps centers our why.
yes, I love that. I absolutely love that. I love that. Yes.
So makes us come
Love
back
it.
to our why.
Yeah.
And we know that reason, if it's not strong enough to make you cry, then that's not, it
Not a
might
good
not be
lie.
powerful enough to make you
I like
follow through.
that. Yeah. Okay, so that actually is a really good segue into how do you power up your pit stops? So, how do you get the most out of your growth zones, right? So, and I mean, we have two areas in where we head into our growth zones. One is because we choose to grow, and the other is because something's happened in our life that's forcing us to grow.
Mhm.
So, how do you get the most out of those areas?
Mhm. Great question. So like you said, and it's great segue. Those type of sorry, that it's so much that floods into my head at the when
I
it
know
comes
how
into.
you feel.
So creating the day to day and the disciplines that comes along with that
Yes,
really helps keep what that looks like. I had a
right.
conversation with one of my mastermind group, great guy, Ian Harrison, and he's in real estate here in New York City. We have a lot in common, and we've stepped into a lot of transformational understanding with each other through courses and things of that nature. And I told him, funny enough, I listened to John Maxwell on one of the sides where it says you could start as simple as just making up your bed. Just
Yes,
putting that every time that you get up and putting that together and what that looked like. And so I said, well, he knows what he's talking about. So I'm going to take his advice. And I haven't been one for making up my bed. Most of us, we just get out the bed, we
I'm a
toss
bed
up the
maker.
right, we toss up the cover, the
Yeah,
cover flies, and our pillows over here are on the floor, and we scratch our head, and we just do this routine of what that looks
right,
like instead of one of intention.
right.
So the idea of that is something that's intention that helps shape what those intentions are little by little until you have harmony with the frontal cortex has equilibrium or harmony with our subconscious.
Love it.
And we have to slowly manufacture what that looks like. And
Yes,
so that's a great beginning. And so I started doing that, and I started straightening up a lot of different things on different sides of it. And another one of my great coaches through one of my transformational courses that I coach with it, All True Now, says, and she says it all the time, but I know she's not the bearer of what that is, but she says all the time, how you usually do one thing is probably how you do everything else
love it.
in your life.
Yes,
And so it started from that discipline, and then the disciplines of giving myself affirmations,
yes. I love affirmations too. Yes,
and stepping into what that looks like. And that
yes,
and the affirmation doesn't have to just be words. It could be you meditating and taking in whatever higher power or third eye or God's voice or whatever that looks like. And I thought that was something that was really powerful. Just clearing your head and staying away from the things that can be distracting in different parts of our lives, and then also putting the right positivity of what that looks like. So my conversations are on audiobook with great people like John Maxwell and Les Brown and Tony Robinson and Andy Stanley and
yeah,
John
yeah, yeah. The class.
Mason, John Mason, and all these great people, and and the list goes on. And I have these conversations every day by way of audiobook,
Love it.
the conversation between each other. And it started off with just doing that as a 30-day pullout challenge to myself to create that new habit that creates
Yeah,
the
love it.
values that we hope to aspire towards, and it creates our integrity points
Yeah,
and all that. So that's where what that looked like for me. So everything started to grow from just making my bed up every day. Every time I lift it, it looked so pretty. It got prettier and prettier. I was terrible at it before. Now you can enlist me in the army, I'm sure. If they say get up first thing in the morning, 6 a.m.,
I love it.
I'm gonna fix that bed in 1 second. They're gonna be like, wow, I can bounce a quarter off that bed. That's right. That's what it turns into.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, I love it. That's fantastic. And you're right. Something as simple as making your bed perpetuates better habits throughout the day. Like I said, I'm a bed maker, so I
Yeah.
got that one down.
And
Okay,
so
so
that's the power of what that looked like for me.
I
And
love
then
it.
but it opened up my capacity. And obviously, lastly, the fourth thing, if I would say anything, is just being always in gratitude.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. But you know what? That actually kind of filters over to me for my last question is how do you celebrate your victories? And I think that when you live in gratitude, it is a constant celebration of victory.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
100%.
I'd like you to talk more about that for a second.
No, 100%. We have to be able to take that winning lap.
Mm,
We
yeah.
hit so many obstacles and we get turned around. Life is just there. Like we turn one way and boom, and we turn the other way and boom, and
Yes.
and so we have to understand that you're the champion.
Yep.
We got through that.
Yes.
That victory lap is fundamental in making sure that you don't harbor a lot of the things that were negative that affected you, or the shortcomings are in your life. The people,
Absolutely.
because if you have gratitude for yourself, then it'll give you the fortitude to have forgiveness for others.
I love that. You're absolutely right. I love that. Yes.
And forgiveness of others helps us to be at the 2% of the world that should be moving towards Gandhi's, how do that changing of the world,
Yes.
and what that looks like in
Yeah.
the folds of our moral and mental stability and
Yes.
our growth.
Yeah. I love
And
that.
so the world does keep turning, and I love that soap opera. My grandmother, growing
So
up with
world
her,
turns.
growing up with my grandmother, my mother was always around but had to work a lot, at least for the
Yeah.
first 6 years of my life. And so my grandmother kept me, and yeah, she would, love grandparents love their soap operas all
Oh,
over all over the world. You find out, like I said, the same thing. We're all the
yeah.
same,
Yeah. Yeah.
all of us. And so sitting there watching the world turns, and at the beginning of it, it has this huge globe,
Yes.
right? And it's beautiful, a beautiful depiction of the world turning. You feel like you're really looking from the outside of it. As a kid,
Yeah.
you're mesmerized, and wow, that's the world, and it's slowly turning. And really, we understand that that actually is happening in our lives, day in,
Absolutely.
day out,
Yeah.
not just on that side, on the physical side, but mentally and spiritually and physically, and whatever other pillars that kind of are in our lives, whether we planned for them or they were catapulted into our
Right.
existence. And
Yeah.
it's just the power of that gratitude, that strength that comes from taking in all these things, evaluating them, applying them, by meaning action, in that way, and then doing it again, and then
Yes.
doing it again, and putting that on repeat, because that is the mother of learning as we understand it.
Absolutely.
And it gives us the insight to push forward into our true possibilities
Yeah.
without limitation. Deepak Chopra talks about that in his seven laws of spiritual growth.
Yes.
Pure potentiality,
Yes.
what that looks like,
Yeah.
the potential that is there, that's always been there in us,
Well, this,
and awareness to recognize what that looks like.
absolutely. And this is why I think it's so important to celebrate our victories, because that anchors us as that being our new norm. Right? So we don't revert back. We say, okay, this is the new norm for us now. So then we can keep moving forward, right? I think it's super, super important. Yeah.
And being around the right people, the law and the environment.
Yes, this is super important as well. I agree with you.
And we both know, in the 15 laws of invaluable growth, John Maxwell talks about that in one of the chapters in there, and just making sure that we are always in a point where we're protecting our mind.
Yes.
If you wanna renew your mind, beautify your mind.
Yes.
One of the great quotes from James Allen: "As a man thinketh, we are
So
what we put in our mind
yeah.
perpetually."
Yes, I love that. And you're right. And when I look over my years, and my development, it is amazing to me how my self-talk has changed. I am so much more compassionate and loving towards myself. And it's interesting because I noticed that I am so much more compassionate and loving towards others. Yeah. Not that I ever wasn't, but it's changed. there's a richness, there's a depth to it that wasn't there before, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that self-efficacy that a lot of us don't reach to is a problem with daily life in a lot of our lives.
Yes.
You know, because it adds up to the muck
Yes.
that we bury down when we talk about forgiveness of self. That's self. That's love. A lot of people can't forgive others because they haven't forgiven themselves.
I agree. I agree.
And the strength that it takes to persevere through what that looks like in each of our life, you know, but we still, you know, keep throwing on the muck. You know, I think, like, you know, that pit, you know,
Yeah.
that you keep hitting every time you're going down the road in your car. You just say, man, it's messing up my car every time.
Don't keep hitting
And a
it.
lot of times, you know, the city will send people out to fill that up. And what will they put? Will they do it correctly, or will they put asphalt in there?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and just kind of steamroll over it and just to pat it down. And
Right.
what happens? Get some bad weather, right?
And there it is again.
You hear staticking under your car. You're like, it's ruining my car a different way until
Yeah.
the hole is back, but it's even deeper.
You know what? That is a great analogy, actually, because that's exactly what happens. You know, I had a conversation with a person I was mentoring a couple years back, and he said, "Why am I dealing with this again?" And I said, "Because you haven't resolved it, and you will continue to deal with it until it's absolutely resolved. But what you'll notice is that each time you come back, it'll be easier."
Mm-hmm.
Right? So,
100%.
yeah.
And that's where mastery lies.
Yes.
You know, that sereneness, that the understanding that you're at a cause because you stop letting things affect you.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
be an originator that comes out of what that looks like in each of our hearts, minds, bodies, souls, from its truest authenticity.
Yes. Yeah.
And
You
that,
know, yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. And you know, Arthur, on that, we should probably wrap this up because we've gone a little bit over time here, but this has been absolutely brilliant. And I mean, again, we could invite you back another time and we can talk on
I would
different
love
topics.
that.
And but this has just been wonderful. I really, really enjoyed having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anything that you want to leave the viewers with, someplace that they can find you or anything like that?
Yes, great. Everybody, Facebook, as you understand, on my Facebook, I have the page King Arthur's Passport. Definitely add and check in to the things that I update daily on there. Also,
Super.
I have, right? Also, we have masterminds coming up talking into the laws of 15 invaluable laws of growth from John C. Maxwell, and also the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership,
Mm,
and even to find your dreams and things of
yes.
that nature from the great, vast library of John C. Maxwell. So those will be coming up. So just stay posted to the Facebook on those from not just for me, but also for you as well.
Yep.
With the masterminds coming up, which I will be on with you, no
Awesome.
problem.
Awesome.
And then we have Instagram. That would be at the number one King, King, AJDR, Arthur Jeffrey David Rutledge. That's my full name. So, you know, at the number one King, AJDR on there, and hashtag Into United. Uh, that's just a segment that I do on a weekly basis, sharing these positive understandings with different people who are moving forward or motivated, whether they're entrepreneurs or whether they just are stepping to different things day to day to inspire and cultivate our souls and what we feel like our mission, and help mold what that looks like in our lives. So that's
Awesome.
on a weekly basis from that page, and hashtag Into United, spelled INTRUKNIGHTED, with a little crown on the end of it, usually. So that's the particular page, and that side of it is where I put a lot of my apertures and a lot of the things that give affirmation to your day. And you could take that and share that on your own post at leisure from anything that I post, because that's what it is. It is about that understanding that we have these share buttons for a reason. And it's a reason.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's not just to look pretty. It's
Yeah.
for us to remember that is not, we shouldn't, as John Maxwell says, right? We shouldn't be a reservoir. We should flow through what that looks like into a point where we're that river.
Yes, I love that. Thank you for reminding me and reminding others of that. Absolutely. So again, Arthur, it was wonderful having you on the show.
Thank you for having me again.
I really appreciate you being here.
And I appreciate you. And thank you. And everybody, please keep looking at this young lady. She's a powerhouse. I feel so blessed for knowing you and having another person, like-minded people who are moving forward in the same task to change the world.
Absolutely. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Ciao, ciao. See, I told you he was interesting. I can't believe all the cool stuff that Arthur has done in his life. And I love the perspective that he's taken away from his experience in order to share with other people. So make sure that you do check him out on some of his social media platforms. And like I said, that King Arthur's passport is super cool. I think that you'd enjoy what he posts there. So make sure you reach out and check it out. I guess that's about it for the bulk of our show today, but I just wanted to say that, as we mentioned, we are going to be doing the workshop around the 15 laws of invaluable growth, and I would love to have you get onto that program there if you're interested. You can email me at stephanie.nielsen.ca@gmail.com, and I will send you the details on that. And if you're interested in learning more about what I'm up to, you can check out my website at www.stephanienielsen.ca. And you can follow me both on Insta and Facebook at stephanienielsen.ca. So I guess that's it for today. Thank you again for tuning in. I really appreciate you watching. And until the next lap, ciao, ciao.